Go.
Hey guys, happy Thursday, almost at the weekend. We're continuing with our gymnastics Thursdays, some of our handstand work along with a couple of other movements as well. We're going to start first alternating every minute on the minute with a 40-second bent over proximal hold. We can use dumbbells, kettlebells, or an odd object with that, and a 40-second handstand hold. Our modification for that handstand hold, if you're either uncomfortable being inverted at this point, or if you don't have access to a wall or door to kick up against, will be a box or chair handstand hold, and I'll show what that looks like. After that, we're going to go into a 12-minute AMRAP of 6 renegade rows, again with a set of dumbbells. If you don't have a set of dumbbells, we'll be doing 2 shoulder taps, 1 push-up for 1 rep, 18 side bridges, 3 candlesticks. These we have a couple of different modification options. The candlestick is essentially very similar to an atomic sit-up, which we've done a bunch in class, except without any weight added. These are pretty challenging. I think we had them a couple of weeks ago. Couple different options for these. You could either do an elevated candlestick, which is what I'm going to show when I demo the movement, a weighted candlestick, so similar, same idea as the atomic sit-up, which we do in class, or a hand-assisted candlestick, pushing yourself off without using any weight to kind of help guide yourself up. So those are a couple of different options there. If any of those don't work, you can shoot me a message. We can come up with some other ideas that could work. I'm going to start first with the 40-second handstand holds over at the door over here to show this. For our handstand hold, we want to make sure that we are squeezing our glutes at the top, keeping our butt off of the wall. So you're going to start by just kicking up and then holding there for 40 seconds, squeezing your glutes, no butt resting. We want to stay active in this position. 40 seconds there. If that's challenging, if you're uncomfortable, or if you do not have access to a wall or door to kick up with, come with me and I'll show you another option. So we can either on a couch, chair, or if you have access to a box, we're going to do a handstand hold that way, with the goal being that we are still going to have our hips and shoulders stacked on top of each other. So you'll start first, feet on a chair or couch in a plank position. Walk those hands in as far as you're comfortable, and we're going to hold here for 40 seconds. You'll see my hips and shoulders are still stacked, as if I was up against the wall. The only difference being I'm taking off some of the weight. So you're still getting some practice being upside down. In no time you'll be kicking up against the wall. Next we have our bent over proximal hold. So for this, we can, a couple of different options here. So first one, bent over with dumbbells, holding this towards your sternum, holding here for 40 seconds, lighting those lats up. That's one option. If you only have one dumbbell, come here, you can do it with one, bend over, holding this against your sternum. If you only have access to a kettlebell, you can do that as well. Again, sending our hips straight back, bent over, holding this against our sternum for 40 seconds. And then lastly, odd objects. You can do this with a backpack. You can do this with a bottle of Tito's, seems to be our go-to. Apparently no one drinks anything else. If you're doing this with a backpack, can hold it by the straps or on its side, bend over and holding here for 40 seconds, filling that backpack up with the wine that you're planning on drinking over the weekend. So that's our first part. Second part, we have our renegade rows, side bridges, and candlesticks. So starting first with the renegade rows. These can get a little tricky to do in an apartment. Right,
just right there.
Yeah, that's fine. Our neighbors hopefully are up at this point. We are going to have a row, and then push up. That's 1 rep. So this position, row, push up, chest all the way down, making sure I'm tucking those elbows in. If you don't have access to 2 dumbbells, we're going to do 2 shoulder taps into 1 push up, will be 1 rep. So shoulder tap, push up. That's 1 rep. I believe we have 6 of those. Next we have our side bridges. So going into a side plank position, dipping our hips down and then back up, 9 on one side, then switching to the other side and doing, I believe it's 9, then on the other side for those side bridges. And lastly, we have our candlestick. Really fun. So for these, as I had mentioned, it's essentially an atomic sit-up. We're going to be rolling back a little bit more than we would with an atomic sit-up. Couple of options for this. I'm going to do the elevated option for this. You don't have to. So the prescribed version would be doing this flat on the floor without any weight, without this elevation that I have, my gymnastics mat that I set up. You can recreate this with pillows if you need to. Again, prescribed version would be without this here. I'm just going to demo it with it. If you cannot do it flat on the ground, we can either do elevated, we can add weight just like an atomic sit-up, or you can add your hands to push yourself off the ground. We want to make sure that we're keeping tension for this, that we're not just flying back and forth when doing these candlesticks. When we roll back, our goal is to get our toes pointed straight up at the ceiling, not behind us. So how this is going to look, going to start just standing straight up, dropping into a squat, coming back, and then up. So again, starting feet maybe a little bit wider than shoulder width, depending on your mobility. I'm a little bit comfortable going a little bit wider, starting into a squat, coming back, toes up, and then standing up. Again, our prescribed version of that would be without this elevation. I find them really challenging, so that's why I set up some elevation just so I didn't have any bloopers on my video. That would be really upsetting. So if those are challenging for you, let's stack some pillows or anything else that you have to make an elevated, kind of elevate yourself off the ground. That's going to help a little bit. You can also add a weight. So if you have either a dumbbell or a kettlebell or a backpack, you can have that swing behind you and then come straight forward to help pull you forward. And then lastly, you can also, if you're really, really close to getting there, it's supposed to be hands out here at the top. You can give yourself a little push off the ground if that's the last piece of this that you need, if you're just having trouble, finishing that stand-up part. Again, things that we want to focus on, we want to have a lot of tension. We just don't want to be flailing, legs over us. Again, the goal is to get our toes pointed up at the ceiling and have tension throughout. Think of it, the first part of it, almost like a hollow body position. That's our plan for this Thursday. Hope you enjoy our Gymnastics Thursday. I'll see you at 6 p.m. on Zoom.